Matt, the season's come to an end, but I guess in many respects now is one of the tougher times to be a manager, and you've just passed us on the retain list for this season. I guess if we start with those released from the senior group, we say goodbye to Nigel Ghana, Callum Rowe and Colin Daniel.
Yeah, strange time as a manager, even more so on the back of the success we had at the end of the season to clinch promotion in the manner that we did. It always leads to what's next, and unfortunately as a football manager then you've got to look forward to next season, and that sometimes involves releasing players, offering new contracts, but certainly these players we're going to talk about in the next few minutes go with our best wishes and go with a promotion under their belts.
Nigel Ghana's been at the club for a good few years now. He's a spell hampered probably with a few really niggly injuries for him after coming back from such a serious injury.
Yeah, when we signed him he had such a serious injury, and we had to be patient in waiting for his game input and his game time, certainly in terms of getting him fully up to speed, but we certainly saw his performances towards the end of that first season. Since then it's been a battle to get him on the pitch consistently, either whether that's his body letting him down at times, other players in form, or his performances not quite being at the exact level which we've required. He's been an outstanding person, which a lot of our players are. Fantastic person to have around the training grounds, a good influence on the group, but we've just not quite seen enough value on the pitch. Really unfortunate for Nige, but also probably a sign of how other players have played in his position ahead of him. Tim's had a fantastic season signing as a centre midfielder. Archie Collins has had another good season as well, so it's always difficult to always try and fit these players in.
And Callum Rowe, a player who joined us on a one-year contract last summer as well, but someone who probably struggled to kind of get the game time. And I know he had some loan spells which were beneficial, and then he showed his worth towards the end of the season. But I guess, you know, if we'd have been in League Two still, would it have been a different situation, or
possibly a slightly different situation, similar to the Nigel situation? We've got to think about who's under contract as well already at the football club. Got to keep some pathways clear in relation to some of our academy products. Callum had a difficult start to his time at Exeter City. We signed him as a left back and a left-sided defender. It became quite apparent pretty quickly that his more preferred position, or his better position on the football pitch, was central. So when he went out to get game time on loan around the Christmas period and into the new year, he performed well out on loan. Circumstance dictated that he came back to ourselves for a spell towards the end of the season and performed admirably. Was fit, was strong, was quick to the ball, did a fantastic job for the football team. But in relation to the level that we're going to, and certainly in relation to the contracted players we got at the football club already, we felt it was the right thing to do to release Colin.
And just on that, as you say, is it important that you also don't hold back players as well? So if you're moving up a level, you know, you don't want to stunt their development and stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely, but we can't afford to stockpile players as well. The squad's going to be a smaller squad next season. Any finances we spend, we've got to get full value of, and I'm already looking to improve this group. We've had so much success this season, and that's no disrespect to the players we're releasing. It's a natural development of a football squad. We're looking for balance, but we're also looking for quality, and quality of maybe experience and know-how at a higher level. And that's certainly something we're targeting in terms of our recruitment. So in terms of the players leaving us, hopefully they'll still have careers in professional football. Hopefully they'll still have the opportunity to go and play at League 2 level, if not above, and we wish them all the best.
And Colin Daniel, a player who joined us on a short-term contract due to injuries to Jack Sparks, did really well when called upon, but I guess there wasn't that opportunity for him when the players, you know, with Jake Caprice playing so well on there and Jack Sparks coming back. Yeah,
definitely, and it was strange really, because Jake Caprice performed so well when deputising for Jack Sparks, but within that time we signed Colin because we felt we needed left-footed balance on that left side. He'd missed a pre-season and missed a full-time pre-season, so he was always playing catch-up in relation to his game fitness and his game sharpness. He had some good performances throughout his time, but just not on a consistent basis, and it was felt the best thing for him to do was to get some game time out on loan in January. Obviously he's been getting that at Aldershot, but in terms of ourselves moving forward with Jack Sparks contracted and the opportunity to bring in another left-sided player, we thought it was the right thing to do to release Colin.
And from the under-23s group as well, we say goodbye to Jordan Dyer, Ben Seymour, James Dodd, Ellis Johnson and Jack Veal as well. I guess for them, is it quite hard for them to get opportunities as well, given the players that are ahead of them? So is it about making sure that they can move on with their football career?
Yeah, a slightly different group in terms of the split even within that group. Ben Seymour has had opportunities at first team level. Jordan Dyer has had opportunities at first team level, not just with ourselves, but both with him out on loan at Yeovil this season. So the way those opportunities have gone has probably been a reflection of where they're at in terms of their game level. Both came through the academy, both fantastic servants for the football club. But in terms of the opportunity to play in the future, we can keep signing players and keep on sending them out on loan, but it hampers their progression and really stops them having a real career in professional football. So we always feel we've got to do the right thing for the players as much as a football club, and we've mentioned about finances as well. But these are players who spent a lot of time with ourselves, and it maybe hurts a little bit more, and I'd add James Dodd to that equation as well. Dodd's a player who's probably not had the opportunities but has been just hampered consistently through injuries. He's had 2 horrendous injuries with both cruciate operations, and a player who maybe when he was 17, 18 we had such high hopes for. He'll still have a fantastic career in the game, but the speed of the game has probably proved too much on the back of the speed and sharpness he's not been able to get back since his recovery and rehab process. So those are 3 who've been with us for an awful long time, and days like today are particularly sad days in terms of we have so many plaudits with our young players producing fantastic displays and going on to get the recognition. It goes the opposite way at times when you can't go out there, get the players to not produce their full output, because these guys have hit their maximum, but sometimes their maximum isn't quite enough. And in Ellis Johnson and Jack Veal, 2 young players, only first year pros, they've just not quite made the level this season.
I guess the benefits for those from this season is that they've all had productive spells in men's football as well, so they'll be prepared for that next move. Yeah,
absolutely. We always feel it's the right thing to do, regardless of their future, to get them out on loan and give them the experience of men's football. We'll help them to get clubs and opportunities elsewhere in the future, and hopefully they've got not only a promotion under the belt but a good grounding in the game under the belt. We'd like as many footballers to leave us and go and stay full time. Realistically, some of these players will go into their part time and the non-league pyramid, and we might even come into contact with them in pre-season friendlies and cup competitions, but we'll certainly be monitoring their progress, and they go with our best wishes, but also with the belief and the grounding that Exeter City has still done good by them.
Moving on to loan players, we say goodbye to Cam Dawson, Oz Zanzala, Kieran Phillips and Padraig Amond. I mean, starting with Cam, what else can you say about him really?
Well, I think you've only got to look at the fans last night and throughout the season. What a huge contribution. I had a meeting with Cam today and we didn't get emotional, but we spoke about how sometimes luck can play its part in football. He came available late in the pre-season schedule, only 10 days before the start of the season. I think I was walking the golf course with Wayne Carlisle at the Vale when we were away on a pre-season trip, and we got the call to say he could potentially be available and would we move towards it. We had other targets in mind at the time, so I was quickly watching clips of him, but watching clips of him play at championship level, and for us to get him to the football club was such a big moment for us, because not only do you need security and confidence in such an important position, but what a fantastic contribution he's had throughout the season. Consistent saves. For me, he's been the best goalkeeper in the league, and he needed more recognition than he got in other forums than what he's had. But we certainly appreciated his efforts. He goes back to Sheffield Wednesday with our best wishes, and we really hope he finds game time where he goes back to Sheffield Wednesday. If he's not there, then somewhere else in the future. He's too good a goalkeeper to be sat on the sidelines.
Podge may not have played as many games as he'd have hoped to, but he's had such a huge impact, hasn't he, on the squad and the feeling behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason we brought him in. We knew the group was young, we knew it was inexperienced, and we knew that centre forward or the forward department needed to be added to, certainly in terms of league know-how. No one better in and around that 18-yard box. He showed that with the goals he scored, and such an important goal. That Carlisle was his last goal. But what a fantastic professional to have around the football club. Despite his age, despite his experience, his enthusiasm and his energy on a daily basis has been admirable. It really has, and I've loved working with him. I would have loved to work with him at a younger age. I'm sure the coaches were the same, but a huge influence on and off the pitch, and a really valuable member of the squad. And I'm so pleased he's finally got that promotion, which he's also been so close with over the years at Newport.
And Kieran Phillips, again, similar situation, but scored 2 very important goals this season, didn't he, against Bradford and then the equaliser against Barrow?
Yeah, 2 different goals, one classy finish, one big deflection. We knew what we were getting in relation to Kieran. He'd been at a disjointed first half of the season at Walsall, and we fancied him to stretch the opposition back line. He didn't get as many opportunities as maybe he'd have liked, but we felt also the physicality which was needed at times in and around that front line was going to be so valuable for the rest of the team. But still a huge contribution. Fantastic player to work with, a player with a big future, one we'll keep a special eye on, because you never know what will happen in the future in relation to his own career, but also someone who we feel could play at a top level. He showed glimpses of that, maybe not quite enough to get a consistent game time, but he was also working towards a starting position amongst some good players as well, and we obviously had Sam coming back at the end. Oz was the physicality which the team needed, and Giovanni's been informed the majority of the season, so we've enjoyed the time with Kieran. Hopefully that relationship with Huddersfield stays strong on the back of how we've developed his game, and as with all of these players, they go back to their parent clubs with that promotion I mentioned.
And Oz probably had the more difficult task of the lot in terms of trying to replace the presence of Sam Nombe, but you can't fault his effort, and he put himself about, and he contributed with a couple of goals and a lot of strong performances. Yeah,
I mean, we saw him for a game in the home game against Scunthorpe, and we were so excited about working with him, and within 15 minutes of the next fixture up at Walsall, he had that knee injury, and then we had to wait a couple of weeks for him to get the surgery, and then once the surgery was happened, there was a period of rehab off the back of that, so it certainly wasn't an ideal start for Oz to his Exeter City career, but he put himself forward time and time again, disrupted so many opposition backlines, was a menace to play against, and, a real team player, a lot of team ethics within his upbringing and his body and his game, and contributed with a couple of important goals as well. So we're so grateful for what Oz did for us. He offset other parts of the operation which he could have had, which would have put him out for the whole of the season, to have a shorter period of rehab time to make himself available. His contribution has been absolutely huge. Probably underestimated on the back of him not scoring all the goals which everyone sometimes expects from the front players, but what a disruption he's been against opposition backlines.
And then finally, if we move on to the players still in negotiations, Jonathan Grounds, player who came in and just showed what wealth of experience and calmness he has, and again contributed to some really good, strong defensive performances and a few really important goals.
Yeah, I think his best goal scoring season, which is a fantastic thing to talk about, because our centre halves started to score goals, and that helped our set piece game and helped our general game in the process. A quality player, maybe coming towards the twilight part of his career, been hampered at times in terms of a couple of calf strains here and there, and not had the consistent run of game time. That also reflects well on Alex Hartridge. His form has been outstanding for most of the season, bar the knee injury and then the hamstring injury, and then the emergence of Czech Diabate as well, who could even cover that left hand side. But Grounds, he adds something to our squad, our football game, and that's control. He almost plays a game at his own pace, which is an incredible thing to do at League Two. Similar to Giovanni, just on a different position on the football pitch. So we're in contract discussions with Groundsy. Hopefully they're positive. Hopefully they'll stay ongoing for a certain period of time, and hopefully he's another one of those experienced players we can bring back to the football club.
It might be a little bit too early to ask you this, but we've got this list of contracted players, but do you expect to have some interest in some of those still?
You never know. I think it's been well documented, the interest in Josh Key throughout this season, in the last couple of transfer windows. Czech Diabate, as I've mentioned, has had a good season. Alex Hartridge. Some of the players haven't had the consistency due to injury. We might have been talking differently about Sam Nombe and other players within those ranks. So you never quite know what you're going to get. We've had the recognition of the promotion, so players are more entitled to be spoken about and sought after. It all depends on the market. I don't think the market will fully settle down for a couple of weeks until the playoff campaigns and the playoff pitches are fully done and dusted with, and managers and clubs and chairmen get their budgets in line with what they need, but I'm sure I'll get the odd phone call along the way.
And just finally, this is a group that all season they've been talking about how together they feel, how special that bond is. Is it important to you that you've managed to keep as much of this squad together for next season?
That's what we're trying to do. We're certainly trying to achieve it. The squad will be naturally smaller next season. We had a big recruitment window or push this time round last season, because we needed to do it on the sacrifice we made the season before. We want to keep the continuity going as much as we can. We want to keep the balance of the squad. We want to keep that team spirit which everyone's seemed to speak about so openly, and everyone seemed to be connection there. So it's important the players we bring in make us better, first and foremost on the football pitch, but also buy into what the environment is around the training ground. So they've got to understand the football club first and foremost. It won't be a big recruitment window. We spoke about the financial situation, but we are looking to add quality. Easier said than done, and it's always difficult to bring guaranteed quality to a club like Exeter City, but the fact that we can offer League One football to a lot of footballers, which we've not been able to do in the past, is a huge pulling point. I hope it's a huge attraction for people within the game, and we're looking forward to what that brings.